There was a funny incident that happened. So within 2 weeks of each other, we bumped in the subway, the same subway, 2 weeks in a row. And the first time, he goes, I said, Mr. Albee, I read your biography. I've seen every play since Three Tall Women. He goes, did you see The Goat? And I said, no. He said, go see it. And he walked off. So the next week, I had seen The Goat with my mom.
Okay.
And half of the time we were looking at each other like, what the hell's going on? And I see him on the subway the next week. He goes, did you see The Goat? And I said, yes. And I said, it was the most embarrassing play I've ever seen with my mom. I go, if we had known it was about a guy sleeping with a goat, we probably wouldn't have seen it together. And he said, I never said to see it with your mother.
Welcome to another episode of MyattJazz. Today we have a special guest, Jonathan Glass. Jonathan is a fixture, actually a unique fixture in the jazz community. He's actually a fine artist and artist illustrator. Now, you're going to be educated, if you will, in terms of why he's such a fixture in the jazz community. So sit back and enjoy this episode of MyattJazz. So, Jonathan Glass, I'm not going to get into the story yet about how we met, but just for the audience to get a sense of what it is that you do. I described to a friend that you were a jazz sketch artist. So you would have to educate me in terms of whether or not that is true.
Well, it is true. I am a jazz sketch artist, and I define my work as live performance sketches done in real time to the music. So it's a skill that I developed over 30 years of drawing concerts, and I'm very rigorous about not starting before a concert starts unless I have to do a little cheating beforehand of my ethics, in terms of like getting things that I normally wouldn't get in the drawing during a performance. If I see them warming up and I can incorporate it in a way that I know is going to work out through the drawing. However, in general, when I'm not cheating, I pretty much start when the concert starts and I finish when the concert finishes.
Now, is there a difference between, I say sketch artist, but is there a difference between that and an illustrator? Are those
So I went to
different?
school for illustration when I went to the University of Buffalo. I studied with a famous illustrator named Alan E. Kober.
Oh, Alan E. Kober, yes,
Yeah,
very
he was
famous.
my mentor,
Yeah.
and
Was he your instructor in school?
yes,
Oh, very
I
nice.
I stayed at Buffalo. I had originally wanted to go to an art school, but the funny thing is, my dad's business partner in his practice of being a financial planner for people at his insurance company. His business partner was Alan E. Kober's childhood friend growing up.
Oh,
So it was kind of like a weird dynamic of father figures.
sure.
And I felt like even though I really wanted to, like study with Kober, and I got a lot out of the sketching department with Kober, I never really fulfilled the illustration uh, portfolio that I wanted to achieve, like when I had left college, and then soon after Kober had passed.
Oh,
So,
I see.
so it was one of these things that I never reconciled in my life. But I did continue on the path that he set for me. I just did it in a way that I never thought would that I would explore or that I would think possible.
So
So
what did you learn from Al Kober? What in terms of him
so
putting you on the path?
so when I was a junior, we had I was taking intensive journaling classes with him, where we would have we would have sketchbooks for every uh, type of subject. And he would say, if you're going to visit your parents, have a parent's sketchbook. or a family sketchbook if you're going to a grade school to visit a young kid that you know. Bring a young class a grade school sketchbook.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a I was journaling elderly folks homes in Buffalo
Oh, you
because
were going to nursing homes?
I was going to nursing homes 5 times a week. That was my subject matter, and Kober asked me why I was doing that, and what I didn't understand at the time, and which I didn't explain a lot of things to him, which later became known to me,
Mm-hmm.
is that my grandfather was getting old, and I felt really close to him, but too far away because I was in college, and this was my way of communicating with him.
Mm.
And I had done one painting of my grandfather 6 months before he passed, which was straight out of my elderly sketchbooks.
Mm.
And I remember I painted my grandfather for 3 hours. And then he said, Jonathan. And I said, yes, Grandpa. And he said, can I move? And I said, Grandpa, why didn't you say something? And he said, you look so intense. I didn't want to disturb you. And so I learned that by getting out to learn people's stories, and especially I had a concert sketchbook at the time, and Kober once saw that I had gotten backstage. I showed him a picture of me with the Rolling Stones,
Really?
and I showed him a picture of me with Pete Townsend, and I showed him a picture of me with Van Morrison, and I got to meet all my rock heroes. And then I got to meet Max Roach, and I got to meet Joe Henderson. I got to meet Sonny Rollins. And Cobra said, listen, you have chutzpah. And he said, you have to make it a mission when you go to these concerts. He goes, don't just go to talk about what you like about them. Don't say, I'm a fan of you. Don't say, I love this, I love that, I love this song. He said, talk to them about what they listen to, who they like to play with, what they family life is like, who they are as people, whether they have nervous tics, whether they have idiosyncrasies. And he says, all of that is going to go into the drawing.
Oh.
He says, and I remember the last word of advice, he said, because I would do these paintings and these drawings in one sitting, he told me to look at Alice Neel, the feminist painter,
Okay.
who was very big in the 70s.
Okay.
And he said, look at her work because she's direct and she does everything just like you in one sitting. And she gets more than just a personality. She reaches in the inner life of the person, and it comes through in her work.
And is that what you do? You reach into the inner life of the person?
I'll tell you. I remember. I don't think I'm that deep, but and maybe who knows? Maybe there is a part of me that wishes I knew people better than I do.
Okay.
I remember when I was in school, I had gone to a few concerts, mostly rock and jazz, and I remember a French teacher took me to see her husband, who had played with Grover Washington because he was in Buffalo.
Okay.
And I never met Grover, and I said, I wish I got to meet him because I was a big fan of his work, and I remember I was into grunge at the time, and I had seen Nirvana was at my university.
Okay.
And I had got to see them, and I was standing about 5 feet in front of Kurt Cobain, and this was about 3 months before he had shot himself.
Yes.
And he looked down the whole time. There was a big shadow over his face. And I was thinking the whole time, when I wasn't off body surfing or doing something crazy, I thought, how sad is that he had no expression? And I think in a way, I wish I knew Kurt Cobain a little more.
But did you sketch him at that time?
No.
No. Okay.
I did a drawing of him. There was an article about them coming to town, and I did a quick sketch from about 6 different photographs that I had, and I did a composite of all 6 photos. And I remember my classmates said that's one of the best drawings I did. And I was like, you know what? I don't know why I was so like focused on loving that music,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like it felt like it was a part of me,
Okay.
like, I feel like it spoke to me in a way that like poetry speaks to me,
Mm.
um, but when I got into jazz and I found that jazz people on the whole, especially when it comes to rock versus jazz,
Mm-hmm.
is that jazz people became more accessible. They're easier to talk to.
Oh.
On the whole, I found most musicians, especially the caliber of musicians I was talking to, like Joe Henderson and
Mm-hmm.
Max Roach and Sonny Rollins, they all had something very astute, whether it was an observation about me or my artwork,
Uh-huh.
or they had something to say that really that really made me think like of a certain direction, like maybe if I did a little more of that, or maybe if I drew the people that they were telling me to listen to,
Right.
like, like, and I wanted to learn more, and I felt in the same way that I work at the Noguchi Museum.
Yeah, now
When
that's in Queens. That's how
Yeah,
I
yeah.
came to see you
So
there.
when Noguchi was told
Mm-hmm.
that he was going to be an abstract artist when he was young
Mm-hmm.
by Brancusi, because he
Okay.
studied with Brancusi, it kind of opened his eyes, but it also frightened him. And I felt like jazz did that for me. It kind of
Mm.
opened my eyes, but it also frightened me because I felt like, how am I going to learn all of this history and all of this, all that I'm listening to? How am I gonna like really like understand everything that I'm listening to when I'm such a newbie?
Mm. Okay. Okay. Right. Right.
Kind of
Right.
like, but I've been listening ever since, and I feel like Dave Liebman said it best to me once. He said, "You have to have something of an education to go on this journey
Mm-hmm.
of exploration into the unknown."
Well, it
You
sounds
know?
like also because I think I've read this about you, what you're trying to contribute to jazz history. That's one of the reasons why you do the sketch art.
Well, in a way, I feel like contributing is a strange word because I feel like I'm interpreting it,
Hmm.
but I'm not trying to do something monumental
Okay.
on the level of the musicians.
Certainly
And
not. Right.
and
Sure.
and, and I also feel like if I could capture something not just of a likeness but of a
Hmm.
feeling of their music, that I'm doing a service to what they're doing on stage. And I feel like if the feeling of the music is captured by my drawing,
Hmm.
then it doesn't have to look exactly like the performer, but I wanna get that feeling of what it sounds like when they're playing, you know.
Okay. Okay.
And if it looks like them, that's a byproduct of my knowledge of years of anatomy drawings and uh, you know, drawing people. But
Hmm.
in the same way that uh, Alice Neal saw herself as drawing the soul of the people, I'm trying to draw the soul of the music.
Yes.
You know.
Okay. Got it. So before you get to the University of Buffalo, that's where you went to school. Let's go back several decades. So when when do you first start saying, okay, sketching is what I can do. I'm good at this. How old are
Okay,
you at that point?
so sketching was not like the first thing that I had wanted.
Okay.
Uh, when I was 6 years old, I was drawing figures of just like cartoonish figures,
Hmm.
and I would draw like a person's head as like small, and then a belly button like really large, and
Okay.
it was like those were my first drawings, and then when I was in third grade, I would draw book reports, and I would spend a half hour on the book report and like 4 hours on the book cover,
Mm.
and I was redrawing. I remember the first poster I made that my mom said we got to do something about his talent
Mm.
was the children's book. Why do mosquitoes buzz in people's ears?
Uh-huh.
I redrew that whole thing, and it took me hours and hours, but it was one of those things that my mom said it's a masterpiece and let's frame it and blah blah blah.
Wow.
And she has a collection of all my book covers and all my stuff from school.
Does she? Are they framed at home?
Yeah, they're all framed,
Oh.
but or they're in folders.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I have all these like tons of book report covers, and then when I was in high school, I would get into comics, and I would redraw my favorite cartoon characters, whether it was Wolverine or the Aliens series,
Right.
or I used to love drawing Mojo from the X-Men, or like any scenario where I could, or I loved McFarlane's version of Spider-Man, and especially Venom, and then after drawing cartoons, I started to draw from life.
So
in
wait,
high school.
before you get there, because when your mother says, "Okay, we should kind of do something with this talent," what does she do? Did she put you in a school, or?
When I was 10 years old, I was in Dutch master reproduction classes with 40-year-old people, and I was redoing 17th century Dutch master paintings with pastel.
Really?
And I was spending hours and hours. I would spend like 12 hours on an apple, like, and it was just like uncommon for like a kid to spend that much
long?
time.
Yeah, your
Like,
attention span must have been
well,
just so focused.
I was very focused, and I feel like, in a way, it worked for me and it worked against me because I had a learning disability when I was around that time, around 11 or 12.
Really? What
where
was
I
that?
I was like, or no, I think it was around the time I was 13 or 14.
Uh-huh.
My mind was working so fast, but my eyes were not keeping up with my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and I had trouble reading about 8th grade levels, the speed level of 8th grade levels. My that I was supposed to read at.
Okay.
So I spent about a year and a half with a tutor in Queens who was really my first. I owe her a debt of gratitude because within a year and a half, I went up 8 levels of speed reading.
Wow.
And she was not only a great teacher, she was like my first therapist because before each lesson, she would say to me, tell me about your family dynamic and talk about your problems with your brother. And after I got out all my mishigas and all that, she would say, okay, now let's start the lesson. And within a year and a half, I was not only catching up with all my fellow students, but I was excelling.
Okay.
And I learned that whatever disability I had, that if I could just focus about the task at hand, that I could just like run through anything as long as all the problems and all whatever was holding me back in my mind.
Okay.
If I just like deal with that in one sense before I perform a task, that the task itself was not too difficult.
I see. Okay. You kind of clear the slate and be able to create, so to speak.
Yeah.
So are you the only artist in the family? Is
I
your
am
brother?
the only artist. However, I have a cousin who just married someone, and she's the person she married is now she's an artist. So
Okay.
so we have another artist now in the family as of about 3 months ago.
Got it. Well,
And
congratulations.
it was the first time I was able to relate to somebody in my family.
How about
No,
that?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So wait. So your brother's not an artist,
My brother is the farthest thing from an artist.
and what is he closest
He's a con
to?
artist.
He's a con artist. I see.
No, I love my brother. It's just we're very different people.
Okay.
And my brother was more into sports and other things than art. My brother was never into art, and my parents, even though they'll go to museums begrudgingly, and they really don't go for the art.
Oh.
Like my parents encourage what I do.
Yes.
Because they know it feeds what I love, and they know that my intellect is very like understanding of things that they may not have concepts of.
Okay.
But I think in my family, most people are either teachers or business people or something of that ilk, where it's kind of like they want to see a tangible result.
Okay.
Where it's like,
Art is very different, right?
yeah, I feel like I'm more right brain and my family is more left brain.
So is your mother a teacher?
So my mom did teach before she met my dad,
Oh,
but she never like did a lot of teaching because she pretty much like was a home mother. Like
okay.
she
A
she
homemaker. Yeah.
homemaker and she took care of me and my brother, and we were her biggest priorities
Okay.
throughout her life, and we still are to a
Oh,
large degree. But I think part of the burden is eased by the fact that knowing that we're more independent and we're doing our own thing, and you know uh my dad was the breadwinner. He was the
okay.
one who would work all the time, and he was very focused on his career.
Okay. Now, he's a financial planner, I think you said?
Financial planner, but he
Okay.
also was the vice president of an insurance company called Corpro in Berkshire. And the funny thing is, aside from covering insurance for a lot of comedians who are in the entertainment industry, my dad knew every comedian on earth,
No kidding.
and he covered most of them. He also sold insurance to Miles Davis.
Did he really?
Yes, while he was with Cicely Tyson.
No kidding.
Cicely Tyson did all the talking, of course, and Miles just stood there like this, and you know,
Wow. And bought the insurance.
yeah. But,
Wow. That's a good
but
story.
I think that makes me feel good to know that my dad sold Miles Davis
Absolutely.
insurance.
The connection, the jazz connection started early.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now you're in like this Dutch, not school, but I guess a program.
Well, it was like for mostly for adults,
Okay.
but it was like for artists who wanted to reproduce still lifes from 17th century Dutch masters.
Okay.
And I was doing watercolor classes, but I'll tell you, my watercolors were just like, I don't think they really amounted to much
Okay.
until college, until I started to really. I remember when I went into a fundamentals class, and I had a real shock I had a few shocks to my system in college. One of them was a teacher said to me, "What do you mean you can't paint?" And I said, "Well, I'm used to using pencil first." And so he said, "Let me see your art bin," and he threw out all my pencils.
Oh.
And he said, "Now paint." And so I forced myself to paint
Oh.
without, and it was like kind of like that Wayne Shorter album, Without a Net. I was without a pencil.
Well, how did the pictures come out?
At first lousy, but I learned how to deal with the unpredictability of water and paint mixing with each other. And I learned a lot about mixing things on the spot, and a lot about color theory that I didn't know that I had the background for. But even though I draw in black and white, I think in color.
Really?
Like I'm a colorist at heart. And some of my favorite painters are colorists, whether it's Matisse or Cezanne. He's not much of a colorist, but I love thinking of having a purpose for everything that's in a painting, and I study painting most of my life, like
Okay.
painting was my first passion since I was 10 years old. My teacher, who's not doing well now, but in high school, when I was 11 years old, he told me to look at Velázquez,
Okay.
and he told me to study his painting. And then I went and I looked in front of Rouen Cathedral painting by Monet, and I stood there for 3 hours. My mom's like, "Let's go, let's go, let's go," and I just had to stare at the what he was doing with the colors and the shadow and the light.
What were you
And
seeing though? What
I don't.
was?
I think in a way I got lost in the abstraction of it. and I kind of wondered how he manipulated color
Mm-hmm.
to add depth to this two-dimensional surface,
Right, right.
and how blues can be blacks, and how yellows could be whites,
Uh-huh.
and it's like it kind of like it kind of made me think that there was something much more to painting uh, than just uh, one look can
Mm-hmm.
can give you an answer for.
Right.
That there was something of an investigation into the work of the great painters, that transforming a two-dimensional surface into a three-dimensional world,
Mm-hmm.
and how to create that world, and how to create a universe within a work. It's kind of like there's something magical about it.
You know what's so interesting about what you're saying? Yesterday I went to MoMA to see the Jack Whitten exhibit.
Right.
It was fantastic. And so what you're talking about now, he has some certain pieces that do the same thing where he is interpreting. So
Right.
there's this huge. He's inspired by Miles Davis' Sorcerer's album, and he
Right.
calls it the Sorcerer's Apprentice. And
Right.
what it is just beautiful. It's this mosaic. It's just wonderful. And then he has another one, a dedication, actually paying homage to Betty Carter. I mean, it's just fabulous.
I mean, one of my biggest inspirations, I think, when it came to jazz art was Romeo Bearden.
Why so?
And I just said to myself, what he did with paper and
Mm-hmm.
collage
Mm-hmm.
was like paint with using objects, whether they were flat colors, or whether he painted on them or had dimension, or actual photos of things.
Yes.
It felt like that interplay between the flat surface versus the three-dimensional
Uh-huh.
in his work. It fascinated me. Kind of like when I remember I was thinking of doing animation at one time,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw Faith Hubley's animations, and she did stuff with like Herbie Hancock and like Dizzy Gillespie,
Wow.
and I thought there was something magical about this idea of interpreting things in a way
Mm-hmm.
that had such life, but it was like a world unto of itself. You
So
know,
when you sketch, when you go to a live concert, you are interpreting what you're hearing. Is that what you're doing?
I mean, in a way, I'm creating the same rhythm as the music. I'm I'm trying to get enough detail to uh, honor the look of the concert, whether I'm composing it in a way that they're composing the music.
Now, how does that work
And
exactly? You're composing like they're composing.
so, in a way, as I'm hearing a song might have a certain rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel that the drawing, whether it's the placement on the page or creating enough background to read a foreground,
Mm-hmm.
or create a relationship between the performers, I feel like there's a spacing in my drawing that's specific to the sound I'm hearing with the music.
So are you sketching to the beat of the music?
To some degree, yes. I mean, I remember in the New York Times article that was written about me, they specifically harped on the idea that when there's a ballad or
Mm-hmm.
a slow part,
Yeah.
I'm usually doing detail work.
Okay.
But I think it's different today because I've gotten so fast that
Mm-hmm.
um, I can do detail work when it's fast.
Mm-hmm.
I could also um, try and get enough down within the first, like, I remember my teacher Alan E. Kober once said the first 10 minutes is drawing,
Mm-hmm.
the rest of it is just saving it from a disaster. And I feel like in a way I'm creating this order out of the chaos of the music.
Mm.
It's kind of like the music is coming at me,
Okay.
and I'm sort of like a conduit.
So it's
It,
coming through
it's
you.
coming through me,
Uh-huh.
and I'm interpreting it through the coordination of my hand-eye,
Mm-hmm.
and what I'm seeing, and what I'm seeing between the performers. You know, like and sometimes when a bass solo happens, I concentrate on the bass. When the piano takes the foreground, I draw the piano a little. But in a sense, the drawing is being formed by what I'm listening to.
Okay.
You know.
Now it's interesting because I imagine you like sitting there with this huge, sketch pad and an inkwell, and you're just waiting for the band to get started, and then off you go. Is that?
Well, it's not. I mean, it is a little bit like that, but however, usually I'm in confined spaces and I'm balancing the paper on my lap,
Oh,
and usually I'm flipping the pages.
you're flipping the pages of the pad?
Because I can tell from doing a lot of photography with panoramic stuff. I could tell how one page is going to look next to another, even while I'm flipping it on my lap.
So are you drawing each artist from the band on a different page?
It depends on how big the drawing determines it's going to be. And that's something I was never good at in illustration school is when they told you to a certain size requirement for an illustration, I could never abide by that because I feel like while you're doing the drawing dictates what size it should be. And my teacher always said, Cobra said, if you need to add a page, just add a page, Don't bring like a huge pad to like something.
Right.
If you need to draw with many pages and just put them together.
Oh.
So some of my drawings are up to like 10 pages long,
Whoa.
Yeah, like I have one drawing that I did in literally 2 sets at Jazz at Lincoln Center where I had 3 seats and I had 2 seats on either side of me. And I was doing 2 big bands in 2 sets. And I did it loosely where I drew 1 big band and then I drew another 3 pages for another big band. And I had it a little mapped out. And then the rest of it was just like seamless. Like once I had the composition sort of worked out,
right,
it was kind of like just getting them to have the personalities of the performers.
So my imagining you with a pad and an inkwell, it's not an inkwell, you actually draw with pencil.
No, I have an inkwell in my hand with the pens in the same hand as my inkwell. I have the pad on my lap, and if I need to flip the page, I do it with my right hand. But essentially, I'm in a very confined space.
Yeah, it's very, very tight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you spill any? I mean,
a few times, but not often. And there was a gentleman who was sitting next to me about a year and a half ago, in Baltimore. I was at a Herbie Hancock concert, and I told him I would get him a print if he would let me draw. And then he pointed on his pants. He had these tan pants, and it had a splotch of ink on it. And I actually corresponded with him, and I paid for a new pair of pants for him.
You paid for a new pair of pants for
the guy sitting next to me.
Really?
Yeah, I've done that, and there are times when like people won't allow me to pay for it, but I feel like at least I can offer.
Right, right. Because you're busy sketching, and so...
And not just that, I mean, it's not my intention to disturb anybody.
Of course not, right.
And if I'm going to ruin someone's clothing with what I do, the least I could do is buy them something of equal value.
Okay, all right, that's very nice. That's very nice. So, okay, so you may have spilled a drop or two on...
Maybe 5 drawings out of maybe 700. I've done about 700 drawings at this point.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Over a course of how many years?
Course of 30
years. 30 years.
And I remember there was one time out of 100 times of going to Birdland where I spilled ink on the white tablecloths. And the owner, Gianni, still reminds me every time I go there since then. And I asked him if I could buy a new tablecloth. He said, no. But every time he goes, don't get ink on the tablecloth. And he says that to me every time.
Right. But it seems like he's saying it in jest.
He says it in jest. It's a little bit kind of like a nudge.
Yes.
Kind of like, we know you by now. Kind of like that kind of thing.
Yes. But that, I mean, who were you sketching at that time, though?
I don't remember, but I remember going right after the pandemic, like the first concert that opened up was Emmett Cohen, the trio.
Yes.
And I had donated $200 because that's all I can afford for them to stay open, because they had a drive to stay open because they were in danger of closing
Oh,
because the rent was, in that
sure.
area, it's very expensive.
So you
So
donated
so I donated
$200
two
to
hundred
Burton?
dollars, and the first thing, I got a seat right in the center to draw Emmett Cohen,
Uh-huh.
and Gianni came over and he goes, "I know you gave money." He goes, I said, "I wish I could have given more," and he said, "Whatever you gave was generous, and we really appreciate what you do." He goes, "But don't get ink on the carpets because they're brand new." You know, wink, wink, nudge,
Yes, yes,
nudge.
right, right,
You
right.
know,
Yeah, he just likes to have fun with you a little
yeah.
bit. Yeah, yeah. I see. I see. So now you said you don't like to disturb people, right? So,
I try not to stick out. I try not to get in people's way.
mm-hmm.
And if I'm in a theater, I usually try and get 2 to 3 seats at least, so
Oh,
that I either know the person next to me or the person on either side.
mm-hmm. You need that
And
kind of space. You
I need
need,
that space because
okay.
there are certain theaters where certain people have sat next to me and they've said, even before I start drawing, "We don't want you to draw," and they'll make a commotion.
Oh, so
And
audience,
audience people
oh,
will, especially if it's someone who's a donor of a venue like 92nd Street Y has a
oh,
lot of donors who
yes,
go in the front rows where I am,
yes.
and the stage manager lets me know that if any one of the donors is not happy with me, that I have to stop.
Mm,
I remember there was one time I was at a Valentine's Day concert with Dee Dee Bridgewater, and I had never drawn her before.
mm.
And this guy next to me said, "Are you drawing?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "I don't want you drawing." He goes, "I give a lot of money. I will not have you draw. And I'm a lawyer,"
Whoa.
he said to me. And the stage manager said, "Stop it."
Oh,
And it really, the whole concert, I was listening to her,
yes.
and I was taking in her energy, and the whole time I'm thinking, this would make it a great drawing.
Yes,
You know?
yes, but there's nothing you can do about it,
No,
right?
I felt helpless.
Yes,
And and
yes.
and it didn't feel like a Valentine's Day for me, because
No.
I love Dee Dee Bridgewater, and she's such a vivacious performer. She
Yes,
gives her heart and soul for everything,
she does.
and it's just like I just felt like that energy. I took it in, and I was thinking about it,
Yeah, yeah,
but it
yeah.
was like it was trapped. It was like it was not out on a page.
Right, right,
You know?
right. It was just contained, it's
Yeah,
suppressed is really
yeah,
what it
yeah.
was. Oh boy. So now have any of the artists told you, asked you to stop drawing or don't draw?
There have been times when, actually, two in particular, where
Mm-hmm.
three I could think of instances where performers were not happy.
Mm.
Uh, Two of them worked out, one of them not so much.
Tell me about
Okay, so which one do you want to hear
it.
first?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, so the two that worked out
Mhm.
were, Ron Carter had asked me for his, I think it was his 80th birthday,
Okay.
to draw him at Blue Note. He said, "Come to the rehearsals. I'll make sure you get a space to draw me." And he was rehearsing with Bill Frisell, and it was Blue Note residency. And he said, "Listen, they're filming me." They were doing the movie, Finding the Right Notes,
Oh.
and they were filming it. And I was talking to the filmmakers, and while he was working out his you know like interplay with Bill Frisell,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "Listen, they're filming me, and there's a lot going on. Why don't you come back for the performance?" So I came back for the performance, and of course, I get there like kind of like a little on time, but like not too early.
Okay.
And all the spaces were taken except for the first seat next to the stage. And if you know Blue Note, if you're opening up your sketchbook, you're in someone's space.
Yes,
So
right.
I don't like drawing there often, but
Mm-hmm.
I do love the people that play there. I do think the club has a great cachet, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really one of the great historical clubs. But in general, if I can draw somewhere else, I will.
I see.
But the first stage, right against the stage, that was the only seat, and there were people sitting next to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't open up my book. So I put my book on the stage because I figured Ron Carter asked me to come back. He invited me.
Yes.
and I had to pay for the ticket. I thought he was going to comp me, but he didn't comp me. So I was like, I paid for the ticket. Let me just put the sketchbook on the stage. I see the players kind of looking at me, like, and I noticed something funny about Ron, like kind of like looking a little like unhinged or something.
Is he
while
looking?
he's
Was he
playing.
looking at you or no?
So after the first song, he goes, "Listen, here's my newfound gentleman. I told him to come here, but his page is on the stage, and the other two performers, which were, of course, Russell Malone and Donald Vega, he said they're not saying anything, but I can tell they're a little distracted by his page."
I see.
And he said, "I don't want to be a bad guy." He said, I just want everyone to enjoy themselves. But if the musicians are distracted, I wish he would refrain from drawing." So I went.
And he announces this.
Yes,
from the stage.
and it was before I said respectfully, I respect that.
Okay.
And then after the concert, I went up to him and I said, he goes, "Listen, I didn't mean to call you out. I didn't mean to be nasty." I said, "Mr. Carter, you're a gentleman of the highest order. I respect your wishes. I would not get in the way of the music in any way for any reason." And I said, "The way you handled that was so great. And I really feel like it was not an inconvenience for me not to draw." He goes, "Listen, we'll set you up in another club, and I'll make sure you get a spot so that you're not in the way." And he was just so nice about it.
He's a gentleman. He's a gentleman.
So it's like, that experience. Even though I didn't get the drawing done, I drew him many other times. I'm going to draw him tomorrow night.
Oh.
At Birdland.
Look at that.
With Kenny Barron and Chris Potter and Randy Brecker.
Oh, that sounds
and
fantastic.
Jerry Gibbs. So I'll get another opportunity.
Right, right.
And God willing, many opportunities.
Okay.
The other one that worked out was I was at Carnegie Hall in the 12th row.
12th row, okay.
For Keith Jarrett. And it was solo piano, 2009. Now, he's doing 2 sets with a brief intermission. I'm 95% done with the drawing, except for the background a little bit.
Yes.
And my friend is John Ambrosini, who's a pianist. He's a huge Keith Jarrett fan. And it seems like 50 to 70% of the people in the audience are all major musicians or audiophiles.
Okay.
And it's just like Keith Jarrett just brought some very intelligent listeners. And this lady sitting next to my friend John Ambrosini, in between me and him, she goes, "I don't want you to draw." And this was like 5 minutes before the intermission. And I said, "Lady, I just have a little to go, and then I'm not going to draw during the intermission." She goes, "I don't care. I'm not here to listen to the scratching your pen." She goes, "It's a solo piano. I'm here to listen to Keith Jarrett." And so my friend John Ambrosini is taking the drawing from my lap, and I said, "John, don't go there." And so he's like, "Look at what he's doing," and blah, blah, blah. She's like, "I don't care." So I said, "Lady, I got 3 minutes more to draw, and then I'm going to stop." So she starts coughing.
What?
And she's like doing this on purpose.
Yes.
It's obvious that she wants to make a scene.
Right.
And so he finishes the piano.
So she's coughing while he's playing?
Yes. And he finishes. I'm done with the drawing. She storms off. And Keith Jarrett looks in the audience and he says, "Listen, I know I'm ordinarily very prickly when it comes to people coughing. I'll walk off the stage. I'm known to be very upsetting and not perform after that." He goes, "But whoever coughed right at the right moment." And I said, "Phew." And I would not be telling this story if he had walked off the stage, probably.
That's right.
But I said, God, thank God that he didn't stop the concert. But at that moment, the lady who coughed walked out and didn't return, and she didn't hear the second half of the concert. And me and my friend John Ambrosini were like, "The drawing's done. What's her problem?"
Right.
But it worked out.
That did work out. Okay, so those are 2 that worked out.
Yeah.
There was one that did not work out.
Okay, so I had a very up and down relationship with Lee Konitz, the late great Lee Konitz.
Yes.
He was somewhat friendly at times, and sometimes he could be a little bit curmudgeonly. And I was told he was like that with a lot of people, and it was kind of like he let you know like what was on his mind a lot.
Okay.
So he let me know like once not to sit in the front row, and I said okay. And then the second set, he said you can sit, but just don't draw in the front row. So I sat in the third row, and he's playing like the second set, and he said do whatever you want and just sit in the third row and draw. And he played a 10-minute solo, and then he stopped dead, and he looks over at me and he goes, "How's it going, Picasso?"
He turns to you and speaks to you in the audience?
He stopped in the middle of a solo, and he goes, "How's it going, Picasso?" But that's not the time that didn't work.
Oh.
That's the time that did work.
Okay.
There was another time when he was playing at Brooklyn Conservatory.
Okay.
And I remember it was, I think his name was Schuler, George Schuler.
Okay.
He was a drummer. And he remembered this when Lee passed. He wrote about this.
Okay.
He said a caricature artist was in the front row at the Brooklyn Conservatory.
Who's telling the story? It's the drummer's telling the story?
The drummer was telling this. He was remembering this when Lee passed. He wrote something about it on Facebook.
Okay.
And I wrote that they were in the middle of like a big jam. And I remember there was a guy sitting next to me who was a photographer, and he was clicking, and you could hear the clicking on his camera. And Lee looks, and he's looking really like upset. And he was in the middle of like a solo, and then he stopped, and the band was still jamming. And he looks at me, and he goes, "You in the black." And I thought he said you in the back. So I look in the back. I didn't say, and he goes, "No, you in the black." He goes, "Stop drawing." And he's yelling, "Stop drawing," like 3 or 4 times while the band's playing.
Yes.
And I was mortified.
Of course.
And I stopped drawing. There was nowhere to go. I was like, can I sit in the third row like the last time, and maybe he won't see me? But there was nowhere to go. The whole audience was like packed.
Right.
And he's like, the song ends, and the band's looking, and they're like chuckling. They were like, "What's going on?" You know?
Right.
And then he said, "The guy drawing here, he knows occasionally I don't like it when he sits in the front row and does his thing. He knows I'm a little self-conscious about seeing his drawings and while I'm playing." And he goes, "And the guy next to him is clicking his camera and blah, blah, blah." I think he was more bothered by the photographer.
Yes.
But at the same time, I just stopped drawing. And I went up to him afterwards, and he just restated the fact that I was being a nuisance. And I tried to apologize.
Sure.
And I tried to say, "Lee, I didn't mean to get in the way of the music. I'm not, you know me. I've done this many years, and I'm not trying to make you feel something about my art that would stop you from making music." And he goes, I told him, "I don't mind putting away my sketchbook." He goes, "I wish you wouldn't draw in the front." So from then on, I would always draw him from the second or third row back.
Okay.
And there was one other time I had a run-in with him at a Joanne Burkeen concert. And Joanne Burkeen was playing with Ravi Coltrane, who's a good friend by now. I've known Ravi for about 25 years, and he's been a close friend. He even played at my 50th birthday party 2 years ago.
Oh, that's nice.
Anyway, he did a private concert for me, and I'll be eternally grateful for that concert.
Yes.
Anyway, so I'm drawing in the front row, and Lee was in the audience because he often supported a lot of musicians. And he comes up to me right after the concert, and he goes, "You're a goddamn exhibitionist." He goes, look at you drawing in the front row for every musician to be distracted and blah blah blah. And then Lee left, and Joanne Burkeen said to me, I don't like your drawing. Can you come back tomorrow and I'll comp you, and I want you to draw me with less lines. And then her daughter came up to me and she's like, she doesn't get modern art.
Right.
And then Ravi came over to comfort me, and she's
Yeah.
like, he's like, don't listen to Lee. He goes, we love what you do.
Okay.
We like that you get right up close. And he goes, it doesn't bother us.
Yes.
You know, and so I mean, what I can say is that I'm not trying to get in the way of the music, and I'm not trying to be, as Lee would say, an exhibitionist.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a certain trust that I feel that you have to establish. And another time that didn't work out that I forgot to tell you is that I was told at the Jazz Gallery, where I've done probably about 80 drawings, more than any other venue.
Okay.
And I've been a member of for about 30 years.
Yes.
So I was told that a few of the musicians were saying something about me drawing right in the front. So from then on, I had a pact with the executive director to not draw in the front row.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't bother me to sit further away.
But is it the same experience?
But it's not the same.
Oh, I didn't
it's
think
not
so.
the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same. Because I feel like when I'm up front, the energy is different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not so much that the view is different.
Yes.
It's the energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in the same way that Romaire Bearden does his collages with a lot of life,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my drawings feed off of the energy that I get from up close and personal experience.
Right, right.
You know, I feel like in a way I kind of need that.
Yes.
But having said that, I'm glad that they said something to me.
Okay.
And I'm glad that I can know in advance before I do a drawing that offends somebody,
Mm-hmm.
that I could know that there's a way to do it without offending somebody.
Okay.
Because I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm not trying to be in the way of other people enjoying it,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's the performers or the audience. And I'm not trying to make a statement
Mm-hmm.
that my art is more important than other people's enjoyment.
Right. Now, you've been doing this, a long time, 30 plus years. I mean, do the artists know you? I mean, they know when you
A lot of artists do know me, and I've been gathering quotes over the last 4 or 5 years
Mm-hmm.
from musicians, because I'm trying to make a book of my
Yeah,
a
and I've read
coffee
this.
table.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to make a coffee table book of my art, and I've been collecting quotes from musicians so that I can piece together
Mm-hmm.
my writings about their music with their writings about my art.
Wow. Now,
Or
how's
their
that coming along, the book?
Very good. I have a writer who's writing about my process and my workings.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Paul Austerlitz. I have to renegotiate our contract with him finishing it,
Mm-hmm.
but eventually I'd like to get a forward writer in addition with Paul's writing about me and my work.
Okay.
He wrote a book called Jazz Consciousness, and I really liked the fact that he was more like an anthropologist.
Mm.
And even though his concentration was on Spanish and Latin and merengue,
Mm-hmm.
I like his dissection of music and people.
What's the book
And
called? Jazz?
It's called Jazz Consciousness.
Oh, interesting.
And I'd like to work with him. I still have to come up with the money to work with him, but I know that he'll negotiate the terms if I have to.
Right.
But he was really interested in helping me, and we negotiated over. He looked at about 400 drawings that I had in my house, and he interviewed me about 4 hours.
Okay.
And he said in order to continue that he needs to come up with like a solid plan
I see.
to pay for his services
Mm-hmm.
and to have a timeline of when to finish this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to continue with him. The other thing I would ideally like is to get a big name jazz musician to
Mhm.
write the forward.
Have you approached any?
I've approached famous writers.
Okay. No, in terms of
So
jazz musicians about writing the forward.
no, I haven't approached anybody.
Any on your wish list?
Yes.
Who?
The top two, I would say,
Yeah.
are either Wynton or Christian McBride.
And why those two?
Because they're more than just jazz musicians. They're more like ambassadors. And I feel like both of them understand the depth and breadth of the history that I've captured.
Okay.
And also they understand the intergenerational aspect of the 30-year span of the work that I've done.
I see. Okay.
Like I feel like both of them understand the work I've done, and also I think that they're very eloquent, and I think that both of them have educated and written about things and spoken about things in a way that makes sense for my work.
Okay.
You know?
Got it.
I think both of them have an understanding of not just the music and the musicians, but they culturally they've done so much.
Right. Well, listen, I don't have a lot of influence, but who knows? Maybe the universe will send something up and
I don't know.
make that happen. At least
I mean, it would be nice, but I really don't see it happening in the near future unless because even if the dream were to come true to have a big name writer like Wynton Marsalis or Christian McBride, and even if I got the Paul Austerlitz to finish the writing part about me and my work,
yes,
I think that publishing costs are crazy, and I don't want to I don't want to try and get a publisher that will not do it in a way that I feel is a service to the history of the music that I've captured.
And honors the music, obviously.
Yeah, and honors the music. And also, I feel like editors, the same way I feel about art directors micromanaging the way you work, I feel like editors have their own way of like making things so that they look clean and finished.
Yes.
And I don't know. I'd rather just put it together myself, so that I have no one to blame except myself.
Right. Well, that's why they make self-publishing.
Yeah.
So that's maybe an opportunity.
Yeah. And I think that's the best route for me to take, because I've been since college in illustration school. I've been trying to make work that not just speaks to me, but will look nice in publication.
Of course. You
know, and to that degree, I mean, I don't look to make a finished work of art when I sit down to make a drawing, but I do want to try to do it within the space of time that I have done, and do it in this the amount of to kind of like do as much as I can in the time that I'm allotted,
right?
So that it does a service not just to the musician, but to the music, to the time and space that I'm given, to the music that's being performed. I want it to be honest,
right,
in some way, shape, or form.
Well, that's interesting, because you talked earlier about being, focused, and usually the jazz sets are like 45 minutes, let's say. So you can actually draw what you need, what you want to accomplish, what you're feeling in that 45-minute time frame.
I try,
Okay, all right.
I try. It doesn't always work, but
when it doesn't work, what do you do? You stay for a second set, or
I can always just toss the sketch out in my unfinished drawings drawer.
Oh,
okay. But that doesn't happen often. I mean, I often do finish
within that time frame.
That time frame. Yeah.
Well, then you must be sketching pretty fast.
I have to be. Yeah. For one thing, when I was in college, I remember there was a famous illustrator named Ed Young. He did an exercise where we were drawing dancers, and the reason I got to Noguchi was I never felt comfortable drawing movement when I was in college. Like, we had these big charcoal pads, and he was making us draw with our arms and draw the movement of dancers. and this was around the time that they had built the art center in the North Campus, and it was the first year, and we invited famous illustrators to come do workshops.
Mm-hmm.
And then after college, I said, you know what? I live like 10 blocks from where the Martha Graham Dance School is.
Oh.
And I asked the director at the time, who was June Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
if I could go 5 days a week, like I was doing for elderly folks,
Mm-hmm.
and draw a practice session that would happen the same time. She goes, yeah, you could come all you want. We'll make sure it's okay with the teacher and the students.
Right.
So I drew the same class for like 3 months in a row. And there were 2 drawings that really stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
And all the rest were just like exercises. And they were very unfinished. They
Okay.
were very rough.
Yes.
But I was getting somewhere. I was telling myself that if I really wanted to capture movement,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like the learning disability I had. If I really focus on
Mm-hmm.
just letting go and letting the eyes and the hands and the
Mm-hmm.
move at the rate at which I'm seeing,
Okay.
and the movement is happening, and I could use my muscle memory of like the movement and my knowledge of anatomy,
Yes.
I can do it.
Mm.
And I did 2 drawings, and I framed them, and I gave them to the director of the school,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, this is a gift.
Uh-huh.
And she goes, this is going to last longer than any dance career.
Wow.
And I said, you're not supposed to say that. And she goes, it's true.
Right,
She
right.
goes, you're lucky if a dance career lasts 35 years.
Oh,
These drawings are going to last twice that,
wow.
if anything.
What a compliment.
So the reason I got to Noguchi was because I learned of Noguchi's collaboration with Martha Graham. He
Mhm.
did 35 dance sets for her.
Mm.
And when I applied for the job, I said I learned that collaborations with artists, like the one that Noguchi did with Martha Graham,
Yes.
was something that is like, it can enrich not just art forms,
Mm-hmm.
but I heard it in this talk about theater, this book, Alchemy of Theater. My friend Richard Valentine said to me, there was this word called aphrastic.
A frostic.
Aphrastic.
How do you spell that? That's interesting.
I think it's EPHRASTIC.
Uh-huh.
And I think it means when one art form informs another art form to create another art form.
Mm.
And I remember once I asked Twyla Tharp at one of her talks on creativity
Uh-huh.
about that word.
Yeah.
And she goes, that's the creation of all art.
Ooh, nice.
So
Nice.
I was like, I hit on something.
You sure did.
And I was thinking about how performance and art
Mm-hmm.
have always been a part of my life, you know.
Mm.
And I'm thinking to go beyond this. Someone gave me an idea recently.
Yeah.
I forgot who it was. Someone gave me an idea to do a drawing while the music is happening,
Uh-huh.
and for the music to react to what I'm doing.
For the music to react to what you're doing.
Yes,
That's
while I'm
interesting.
doing it.
While you're doing it. Wow.
So I don't know if that's possible, but you
I
know,
don't know
I was
either.
also told by somebody that one day
Uh-huh.
I'm going to draw a whole big band or symphony
Yeah.
in Carnegie Hall,
Yes.
and they're going to have a camera do a time elapsed while it's happening on the screen, and people will be just as interested in the drawing as they are in the performance.
Right, right. Because it'll be projected on the
Yeah,
screen.
Yeah. So,
That would be excellent.
but I don't know what's possible. I don't know what's gonna, who the powers that be that will make this happen. And the other thing is, I don't know. Like I told you, I don't like to stand out.
Yeah, you
I don't want to
mentioned
be put on the spot.
that. A little tough to do if you do something that creative.
It's kind of, yeah.
But let's do this. Only because we need to take a break now.
Sure.
I need to give you at least an opportunity to take a little break. So we're going to ask folks to stick around. We're going to take a little break. We'll be back, but remember to like and subscribe. So welcome back, folks. This is Renee Myatt with MyattJazz. My guest today is the incredible Jonathan Glass, illustrator extraordinaire. So we're going to pick up where we left off. I am now curious about, I thought I read something about in terms of when you got into the sketching? Was it a form of art therapy? Was that?
Okay, so see, art therapy is not really. I mean, when I went since I've made art my life since I was 6 years old.
Yes.
When I was having difficulty with college and I stopped making art,
Mm-hmm.
and I was kind of having a descent into having a depression.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to look at art as therapy, but it was therapeutic and it helped me even though I didn't do that much of it. And then I stopped making art altogether. And when I was in a therapy center, I had an art therapist named Edie Yoked who helped me coax me back into making art. And she said, "You're one of the two most talented artists I've ever met."
Mm.
And she said, "You have to do it slowly, do it on your own terms, and find a way to kind of like rewire your network so that you can feel productive again and feel good about what you're doing." So I did paintings in her class. I did drawings. I did, and what I learned is that even though I don't like to see it as therapy,
Mm-hmm.
there are times when I need it,
Oh,
and there are times when it heals me
okay.
to make a work of art. Like it's a constant process,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like to see it as therapy so much, but there is a therapeutic element to
Mm-hmm.
making art
Okay.
that kind of makes me feel like not just purposeful, but it's like something that I have to have.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Okay.
like if I'm without it too long, I almost feel like I'm missing something, and that to be without it too long is like just as bad as not being interested in anything and not doing anything
Uh-huh.
and isolating myself the way I was when I was out of college.
Sure.
I realized that shutting that part of myself off is like not living,
Mm. Okay.
So,
Now, how are you able to do this and also hold down two security jobs?
okay, so that's a tricky part is that um, I was doing it intermittently, and then 10 years ago, one of the curators of the Fountain House Gallery, her name was Sasha Nicholas, she was a great art historian, and she was like working with famous artists like Frankenthaler and Richard Ebenkorn, who was one of my favorites. Uh, she came. I asked her if she would look at the depth and breadth of my work and give me some guidance.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 years ago, she came to my apartment. She said, "Listen, you dabble in painting, you dabble in printmaking, you dabble in photography, and you do these gorgeous jazz drawings." She goes, "If you don't choose one thing, you're never going to have a legacy."
Mm.
She said, you got to choose one thing and make that your life, because you're not going to be you're not going to be you're not going to be one kind of artist if you dabble in things.
Okay.
So I made jazz my mission, and even though jazz was my mission for most of my life,
Mm-hmm.
I took it on like a calling,
Okay.
in a way that not only a calling but a responsibility
Mm-hmm.
to kind of like stay true to just what she said, which was focus,
Okay.
and make that focus my life's passion.
Mm-hmm.
So for the last 10 years, I've probably done about 500 drawings.
Wow.
And like the last 3.5 years,
Mm-hmm.
I've done about 350 drawings, which was about 80% of the work I've done in the last 10 years.
Yes. Wow.
And I have really not just been hard on myself, but I've really been productive in a way that like I feel like when I work, I'm doing it to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I hear music, it's like breathing life.
Okay.
And I remember my friend Dan Tepfer said something really interesting. Dan Tepfer was a collaborator with Lee Konitz for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
and he's a very intelligent man who had during the pandemic, he had a Monday Facebook concert for 100 weeks in a row.
Uh-huh.
And he also created a technology so that you can hear a concert from one room and another room within 500 miles without any latency.
Oh.
So he was the only one to fund concerts from people in different rooms during the pandemic.
Wow.
And he had a pantheon, and Christian McBride did something on him. New York Times did something on him.
Very nice.
And he's somewhat of a genius. But I remember him saying something recently about creativity being a reaction to boredom. Now, if that's true, the work is my boredom, but it's not like, it's not that I'm not doing anything. It's just that I'm very focused on the job, even if the job is not something that really intellectually inspires me. But the music is my ability to really challenge myself, you know, to kind of like say, this is where I'm truly living,
right?
You know, even though the work is like not something that I really enjoy,
right?
And it's something that I'm doing just to pay the bills. The music is something that, especially lately, when the job's becoming a little more demanding or a little more rule heavy.
Yes.
I feel like the freedom that I have with art is more precious, you know, especially the last 3.5 years.
Okay.
And I feel like my drawings in the last 3.5 years have not only had a sense of intention that's clearer as I mature and I get better at what I do.
Okay.
But I feel that there's a sense of joy,
that
of expression.
For you, that you're experiencing, obviously. Right, right. So when you are working in like the security jobs, I mean, are you thinking about the music? Are you thinking about upcoming sketch? I mean, is that...
I mean, for me, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what can I do to get out of here? What can I do to
leave early?
What can I can't ever leave early, and there are times when I miss concerts because my security guard company is negligent about getting someone to replace me on time. And I can't just leave in the middle of my job until someone replaces me.
Yes.
And usually a lot of the people who do security work are not always the most reliable people. So I've had people like sometimes make me wait 5 hours.
Oh, man.
To like replace me, and I can't just leave.
Right. Okay.
And I'll argue with the dispatcher. I have a concert to go to. One time I had a concert to see Cecile McLaurin Salvant.
Yes.
And I had a second row seat. It cost me like $400 or $500.
Oh no!
And it was La Ogress, and they couldn't get a replacement. And it was 8:30 by the time they replaced me, and the concert was like halfway through by the time. And I said this, and they paid me back for my tickets.
Okay.
But I was livid because I'm sitting there for 5 hours saying, why can't they get someone?
Right,
you know,
right.
Like I don't want to call out my company.
Of course not.
And I'm not trying to like say that this happens regularly because it only happened like a handful of times.
Okay.
But I've been doing security work for 13 years, and I know that that's not my passion.
Do they know that you are a sketch artist? That this is...
I mean,
you have this other...
I have to make it so that my artwork does not interfere with my work.
Okay.
And I have to make sure that it's not... I keep them separate.
Okay.
Because when you're a guard, it's a little bit regimented, and generally speaking, the people in the building take interest in what I do. But I have a job to do, and they make it very clear that if you let anything get in the way of you maintaining a demeanor that's professional, that it could mean that you could move to another post.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so are you, with the art that you create, the sketches that you create, are you able to make a living off of that? I mean, do you sell some of the work?
So, I mean, I do sell a lot of work over the last 25 years since I've been with Fountain House Gallery. But I separated with them about 5 years ago. and I'm gonna be selling work in their major benefit, which I'm selling what I consider one of my masterpieces
Oh,
in one of the benefits coming up,
when is
because
this?
it's a 25th anniversary show to commemorate the gallery, and they weren't able to celebrate the 20th anniversary because it happened during COVID.
Okay.
So what they did was the Fountain House is putting all of their energy into promoting this event,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to bring back not just people who have been there since the beginning, but
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to conjure up this kind of like celebration of the history of the gallery,
Okay.
and they're bringing back a lot of people who left there, who are old supporters,
Mm-hmm.
who started the very first benefit, which was like the first year of the gallery.
Okay.
And the lady who started the gallery, her name was Esther Montanez, who was also a mentor to me,
Mm-hmm.
and she was the most important social worker in my life.
Mm.
Who I did a painting of, and it's hanging in Fountain House.
Oh.
So she she started the gallery as a sense of community
Mm-hmm.
because she took a trip to Africa and she saw how art can bring community to people and have a greater ripple throughout uh, the artists
Mm-hmm.
in Africa.
Okay.
So it was her idea to make an art center that would be for all mental health patients to have either theater, dance, painting,
Mm.
sculpture, any kind of art form, like to give them an opportunity to create.
Right. So, what is
And
the picture that you
so
would be displaying, or would
so
be
the piece
displayed
I'm
for you?
displaying
Mm-hmm.
was a about 11-foot drawing of the skyline of Manhattan
Mm-hmm.
that I did while Noguchi was closed during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
They actually, like closed the museum while they were figuring out what the rules and the guidelines were for the pandemic
Right.
in order to operate. And while it was closed for like 8 weekends, I went to the same spot in the Vernon Jackson stop near the Long Island City wharf,
Mm-hmm.
and I would go to the wharf and I would draw on the same spot for like 8 weekends in a row,
Mm-hmm.
and I stood there for like 8 to 10 hours each day,
Wow.
and I drew buildings from all the way from Williamsburg Bridge
Mm-hmm.
to Queensboro Bridge,
Wow.
and I did this 11-foot cityscape. And I told myself I was either going to go home and clean my room 100 times over and go crazy,
Uh-huh. Right.
or do something outside where I could risk getting COVID, but
Mm-hmm.
since there's no people around, I can do something with drawing
Right.
that's very intensive and kind of like just lets a little bit of that energy kind of like manifest itself.
Sure.
So, yeah, it was a little crazy, and I don't want to do it again. But this drawing was like an accomplishment that I said, I did it,
Right.
and I even showed it to one of the curators of the Noguchi Museum.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, he was a curator. His name was Dakin Hart, and he said this belongs in a major collection.
Mm.
So
Okay. Wow. So, can someone see this? So, do we have to go to the Fountain House?
you have to go to the Fountain House Gallery Benefit on November 13th. It's going to be at Chelsea Industrial, and if you go on the Fountain House website,
Mm-hmm.
you have to buy a ticket in order to support the gallery, in order to get entrance to the benefit on November 4th, 13th.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much a ticket is. It could be up to $200, but it benefits mental health awareness, and it benefits the gallery and Fountain House,
Right.
and it's for a good cause. Um, I'm sure there will be a preview of the exhibit before the event,
Mm-hmm.
but the tickets are essentially to help Fountain House.
Right.
So
Now, how does one purchase your art?
you could go on my website, which is jonathanglassartstudios.com. If you do a shortcut by going on Google, it'll go to my old website, so you have to type it in completely, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
And you could look at my galleries, and I've updated the website as of a month ago.
Okay.
In about 2 months, I'm going to add about 50 more drawings because I've
Wow.
done about 50 drawings since the beginning of the year.
Uh-huh.
Especially with the Saratoga and the Newport Folk Festival, which I went to.
Oh, you went to the folk festival?
Yeah, I didn't go to the
Ah.
Jazz Festival this year. I would have loved to have stayed for the Jazz Festival.
Uh-huh.
Some of my favorite performers were there.
Yes.
I just couldn't afford it this year.
Okay.
But I had a room booked from a year ago for the folk festival, and I said if I get a ticket, I'll go.
Uh-huh.
So I went. I did about 10 drawings. I did about 5 drawings at the Saratoga Jazz Festival, and I'm welcome back there every year. I love that festival. I'm going to do drawings this weekend at the Nomad Jazz Festival and at the Charlie Parker Festival at the end of the month. Hopefully one of Ron Carter again,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
he's going to be there at Marcus Garvey.
Mm-hmm.
I love running off four drawings a day and not treating each one like it's precious.
Okay.
Just like move on to the next one.
Yes.
But I also love drawing performers that I admire.
So you don't just draw jazz artists then?
Well, I've drawn a lot of other types of music.
Okay. Like what?
I don't specialize in drawing folk musicians.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my specialty.
Okay.
I mean, I consider myself more of a jazz guy.
All right.
But I'll dip into the bluegrass. I'll dip into country.
Mm-hmm.
I recently drew Luke Combs, who did the Fast Car with Tracy Chapman.
Yes.
And Luke Combs' manager, while I was drawing it, or his bodyguard, or whoever, some guy, comes up to me and he's like, "You want to give that to him?" And I said, "No." I said, "If he wants a copy, here's my card.
Yeah.
I don't give away my art." And maybe he's just saw something and he's thinking, "Oh yeah, he just like gives away his art."
Right.
But that's not how I operate.
Right.
Yeah.
Now did you draw Nora Jones as well?
I've drawn Nora about 5 times. I gave 2 of them as gifts to people. She's autographed my drawings.
Now I thought that was interesting. You have the artists at the jazz concerts autograph.
Most of them are 90% of my drawings are autographed.
Why do you have them?
I've never gotten Keith Jarrett's autograph, and I would love for him to sign the drawing I did.
Okay.
But he's hard to reach.
Okay.
Of course, Sonny Rollins has autographed, but there are certain performers that just won't autograph. That's very rare. But there are times when I can't get close. Like when I was at the Jazz Festival, I would have loved to have met Cassandra Wilson because I drew her.
Yeah.
And I love Cassandra Wilson. I'm a huge fan of her 90s work and all her albums.
Yes.
And I that was one of my favorite sets to draw her. But I don't look to get press credentials to get to meet people.
Got it. Now, what makes you get the autographs? Is there something?
I think
what's that about?
Think when I was growing up, I got to meet a lot of sports figures that I loved. The one sports figure that I never got to meet that I really idolized was Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
I wish I could have met him because I heard he was just he was the guy that will not disappoint you.
Yes, okay.
If there's one hero you could meet.
Right.
But I feel like having met a lot of sports legends and sometimes being learning about them as people, I think that there's something about just meeting them, autographing the work, that it doesn't validify the work, but it also leaves something unique, And I think just having collected so many autographs over the years, I have a Hall of Fame bat with 45 signatures, really,
and
I got them all myself.
Wow.
I got Willie Mays and Hank Aaron and one autograph which I think is very unique.
Yes.
Is one of Pete Rose.
Wow, that is incredible.
I said to myself 15 years ago, he has to get in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And President Trump is trying to reinstate him in the Hall of Fame.
I know this, yes.
I don't think anybody else has a Hall of Fame bat with so many signatures,
Wow.
autographed by Pete Rose.
Pete Rose.
And originally I was thinking, how am I going to scratch it off? You know,
Well,
because
good
he's
thing
never getting
he's
it.
never getting in. Well, good thing you didn't do that.
Well, and one guy who I thought something interesting, a little interesting fact.
Mm-hmm.
So I met people like Ray Dandridge and
Mm-hmm.
like really old timers like uh, uh, Lefty Gomez.
Okay.
And my grandfather, who lived right here in Queens Village,
Uh-huh.
when my mom grew up there,
Yeah.
he was a fighter pilot in the Korean War,
Mm.
and he was in the same battalion as Lefty Gomez.
No kidding.
And I asked Lefty Gomez when I got his autograph if he remembered my grandfather, and he's like, "I think I do."
Wow.
And I don't know if he was
Being
like,
polite or he
yeah,
actually
yeah,
did.
yeah.
Okay.
But like he knew my grandfather,
That is really cool.
according to him.
According to him. Wow. Now, you told an interesting story, not here, but somewhere, that your grandfather had this exchange going on where he would exchange food for art.
Oh, he owned a luncheonette on Spring Street,
Mm-hmm.
and he owned 2 buildings. And
What was his name? What was your
his
grandfather's
name was Leo Fried.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And my grandfather was always working to feed the family.
Okay.
He had 4 kids. My mom has 3 siblings,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all very close. And he owned a luncheonette on Spring Street, and he would often have artists come and eat. And in exchange for the meals, they would give him artwork.
Mm.
And I saw these paintings when my grandfather had passed.
Uh-huh.
My grandma was like, "Look at these artworks. What do you think?" And I was like, I didn't want to be impolite, but I was like, couldn't he find better artists if
So I guess he didn't hang them around the luncheonette.
No, there's no Lucian Freud's in there, It's like
Sorry. That's funny. All right. So, but he would, and they'd give him the art. He'd give him something to eat.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think in a way, my family has always been about being generous to others, being outgoing and being but we're also very centered on family and
Okay.
like kind of tough love kind of thing.
Okay. Sure. Now, you were speaking earlier about autographs in terms of the number of autographs that you got. So, did you ever get some from basketball players?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have. So me and my brother were huge fans of the Lakers and the Celtics.
Okay.
That rivalry.
Uh-huh.
And I remember Larry Bird was like someone we were just like crazy about for like about, we still are.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the greatest competitor. And we loved all the Celtics who were playing with him. We got to, me and my brother would go to hotels that they stayed at.
Uh-huh.
We also hung around with the Knicks because they used to play at SUNY Purchase, and we lived in Westchester.
Oh.
And because we were getting beat up in high school from playing with bullies in our high school,
Okay.
we would go 5 days a week to SUNY Purchase to play with college kids when we were in high school.
Oh.
And we were playing 4 hours a day.
Basketball.
And basketball. And we were really into basketball. And we used to hang around the 11th man. His name was Greg Butler. He was always practicing.
Mm-hmm.
And we would rebound with him. We would talk to him. And we got to hang out with, Kenny Skywalker and Dominique Wilkins and Charles Oakley. And
Oh, wow.
the only one who was not very outgoing because he kind of just wanted to do his job and leave was Patrick Ewing.
Okay.
But all the Knicks were really outgoing. We got to hang out with Mark Jackson and Rod Strickland and Greg Anthony.
Wow.
And we used to hang out with them and watch them practice and get to know them and anyway, so there was this one hotel where the Celtics would always stay at. It's now the Found Hotel, I think it's called. It used to be called Doubletree, and it used to be called the Summit Hotel back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And the Celtics would only stay at that hotel. We used to go there all the time, and we'd get autographs of Red Auerbach and
Oh,
Casey Jones
wow.
and DJ and Mikhail and Chief.
Uh-huh.
All of them were there. And I remember taking a picture with Robert Parrish,
Uh-huh.
and you could see up to here on me, and you see him, but it's like, because he's like seven
Right.
something.
Like towering over you.
Anyway, it was just, and I remember one time, maybe this shouldn't be on recording, but I'm embarrassed about this, but one time I was so anxious to get two different items autographed by Larry Bird,
Uh-huh.
and he autographed something, and then he comes over to me after autographing for other people and everything. I asked him for a second item to get autographed.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Did I give you an autograph already?" And I said, "No." And I was like, "You sure?" And I said, "Yes." And he signed something else.
Uh-huh.
And I also remember another thing is that there was like, I don't remember if it was 84, 85, or 86. I forget which year it was, but it was like the Knicks and the Celtics were in a heated playoff battle.
Okay.
And it was Game 7, and Larry Bird was standing outside, and me and my brother and his friend Brian Garner was standing outside with Larry Bird, and it was raining. And we were asking him all these questions. He's like answering.
What are you asking him? What are you asking?
Stats, about his career, about playing in Indiana. And we were just loving talking to him.
Yes.
We were like kids in a candy store.
Yeah.
Anyway, the bus pulls up, and he's like, "One last question." And we said to him, "What do you think of the Knicks' future?" And he looks at us, and before he rode off into the sunset, he goes, "After tonight, there will be no future."
Ooh, wow.
And we just said,
wow.
"That's Larry Bird." He was arrogant, but he was like, it was not like it was not, I mean, he backed it up.
Okay, I got you. Right.
Kind of like that. It's kind of like if he taught us something about greatness, about kind of like you kind of have to be a little bit like that.
Yes, yes.
And there was another guy who we idolized, and
Who's
that
that?
was Michael Jordan.
Oh, well, of course.
Okay, so my brother had once, he used to stay at the Omnia Hotel.
Okay.
I don't know what it's called now, but in Midtown. And my brother once pretended to be one of his cousins and called his hotel room, and he let him up.
Oh.
And he got his autograph on a jersey, and then left.
What?
And my brother used to follow him everywhere, and I remember he was walking to the bus, and I was right in front of him, and he wouldn't sign for me, and I was like, you know what? It must be such a burden to be Michael Jordan because everybody wants
all
something.
the time, all the time,
right.
Right.
And I told myself, you know what? He's the greatest that ever lived, you know?
Right.
And it's like having seen him at courtside against the Knicks with John Starks guarding him.
Yes.
It's like that's some of the highlights of watching sports games. It's like
I got a picture of John Starks back there in my other room there.
Yeah, John Starks when he dunked over.
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, John Starks to me had like real balls to be able to play the way he did.
Yes.
And I just
Did you get his autograph by chance?
Yes.
Wonderful.
John Starks was the nicest guy. And like I have very fond memories. And even though I was a Celtics fan growing up, I am a diehard Knicks fan right now.
Are you still?
I love the Knicks because I feel like I'm a New Yorker my whole life. I grew up hanging around them in Westchester when they were practicing there, and I love the hard-nosed attitude that they play with today. You know,
Okay.
like I feel like that series against the Pacers.
Yes.
If it wasn't for that first game going south, that they probably could have pulled it off.
You think so?
I really feel like they played hard enough to like win it.
Okay.
You know?
Yes. Well, they got pretty far.
Hey, they beat the Celtics,
Yes.
which was a mountain to climb.
That's right.
And the Pacers weren't like even though the Pacers pulled it off.
Yes.
I feel like the Knicks fought very valiantly.
They did.
And it makes you feel like they're in win now mode.
Right.
You know? Like it almost gives
hope
to not just this year, but the future.
Yes. Well, maybe Larry Bird wasn't totally right.
I hope not.
I hope not either.
Yeah.
So now you also collect playbills.
Yes.
Are those autographed too?
I have autographs of two major playwrights, and I might be getting another autograph by there's a famous actress who came to my building about 6 months ago, and she said I told her I collect playbills and autographs, and it was Cherry Jones, and she said if you work here in October, I'll have something for you. So I don't know if she'll give me like something autographed, but I hope so.
That'd be very nice.
Anyway, I have 5 playbills autographed by Arthur Miller from the 40s.
Wow. From the 40s?
Yeah.
How'd you get those?
So there was a guy who passed who was into theater next building to me, and the super was really close with me, and he said, "Listen, this guy left behind 8 boxes of playbills. Give me $50 and you got any one you want." So I took about 400 of the most important ones and the most rare ones. So I got a 1949 mint condition Death of the Salesman with Lee J. Cobb, autographed by Arthur Miller. I got it autographed myself, but I had to send it to the Goodman Theater when he did his last play, Finishing the Picture. And he autographed 5 of my playbills.
Excellent.
One of them I gave to my neighbor whose daughter was an actress, and I wanted to inspire her.
Of course, yes, nice.
And I felt like this would be a good gift. And I also have 5 playbills autographed by Edward Albee, who I had a dialogue with over 2 years about 8 times, and we talked. There was a funny incident that happened. So within 2 weeks of each other, we bumped in the subway, the same subway, 2 weeks in a row. And the first time, he goes, I said, "Mr. Albee, I read your biography. I've seen every play since Three Tall Women." He goes, "Did you see The Goat?" And I said, "No." He said, "Go see it," and he walked off. So the next week, I had seen The Goat with my mom.
Okay.
And half of the time we were looking at each other like, what the hell's going on? And I see him on the subway the next week. He goes, "Did you see The Goat?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, "It was the most embarrassing play I've ever seen with my mom." I go, "If we had known it was about a guy sleeping with a goat, we probably wouldn't have seen it together." And he said, "I never said to see it with your mother." And then he goes, "Did you see Rosemary Harrison All Over at the Chelsea Theater?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Go see it." And he walked off. But it was like, I don't know.
This is your conversation with Edward Albee.
Yeah. But it was one of those things that, like, I love theater, and my parents were big donors of the Burt Reynolds Institute for Theater.
Where's that?
It was in Tequesta, Florida.
Okay.
It's not there anymore.
Oh, okay.
It was broken up after Lonnie divorced Burt.
Oh.
They kind of ran out of funds.
Oh.
And my dad was on the board to try and get them a new theater. And the mayor, at first, they gave a lot of money from the city to build a new theater. And then once it was having trouble financially, the mayor kind of backed out his support.
Oh.
So I learned a little about politics. But the cool thing was I got to hang around like actors and like directors. My dad was friends with Jose Quintero, who was like a friend of the theater. He was a famous director who won a lot of awards for Eugene O'Neill plays.
Yes, okay.
And I learned a lot about drama from the guy who managed it. He was a friend of the family. His name was Richard Valentine, and he got me into seeing important playwrights. And even though I was brought up on musicals, and I got to hear, like, I remember when I was young, I really wanted a ticket to see Yul Brynner in the last performance.
Oh, The King and I.
Yeah, and I got to see him. I got to see Ron Moody, who was the original Fagin in Oliver Twist. For my bar mitzvah, I remember I got to see a ticket to see Anthony Quinn when he was 80. He reprised his role in Zorba.
Yes.
And I got to see the original cast of Man on La Mancha, except for Richard Kiley.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to see Nell Carter in Ain't Misbehavin'. That was the first musical
Whoa.
that really turned me on to theater.
Uh-huh.
I got to see, they're just like things that I saw. Patti LuPone I saw in like 20 plays,
Uh-huh.
and
Right.
she was just an inspiration to me.
Now, does all this culture influence your sketching at all? I mean, between autographs and...
Well, I would say that I was intimidated in illustration class by Al Hirschfeld,
Okay,
because
sure.
I said to myself I could never do what he did.
Right.
And I used to go visit his gallery when I first moved to Manhattan for the summers that
Mm-hmm.
I studied at SVA.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's the School of
I used to
Fine Arts?
religiously go to his galleries
Uh-huh.
in the 70s.
Okay.
And they would, one time they were like, "Listen, kid, you come here all this time, what do you do?" And I showed them my drawings. They go, "Listen,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to tell you a secret. He lives on 96th Street between Madison and Park in this pink brownstone. If he has his light on in the third floor, that means he's working. You could disturb him and say, 'Can I draw you?'"
Mm.
So I would jog. I lived on 83rd and between Park and Lex. My mom's friends loaned me her apartment
Okay.
for like $500 a month, which
Uh-huh.
was
That's a great
incredible.
deal.
And every day I would go to the Met to study art.
Mm-hmm.
I would often go to the drawing room to look at drawings,
Mm-hmm.
and I would make appointments. And every day I would be jogging with my sketchbook
Mm-hmm.
past 96th Street and then go to the reservoir, jog a little, and come back to check if the light was on.
Right.
Never for 6 months was it on.
Mm.
And then he passed like a few years later.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "You know what? I didn't meet him, and he's one of my heroes, and I'm sure he was a great guy.
Yeah.
But I could never ever accomplish what he did. Like I mean, my ink work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was something so fluid about his line that was like, my Kober would always say his line was dancing,
Mm.
like it was dancing the line,
Okay.
and like the way he drew is like a caricature. It not only captured the essence, but it felt indelible.
Mm.
It felt like definitive version of that person, you know.
Yes. Right. Right.
And I remember my friend Richard Valentine had an original paint drawing by Hirschfeld of Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart, and it was an
Mm.
original drawing.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that's just awesome.
That is.
And I just like, even though I idolized him,
Mm-hmm.
I had an art show once, and this guy, Ken Fallon,
Mm-hmm.
who is an illustrator who draws in the style of Al Hirschfeld.
Oh, okay.
Ken Fallon once said, "If you want to trade drawings, you
Yes.
could draw me and I'll draw you."
Oh,
So I still haven't asked him, but I'm sure I'll get around to it.
okay.
I did do 2 illustrators in that sketchbook where I drew them and then they drew
Mhm.
me. One was Philip Burke, who was the table of contents guy for the Rolling Stone magazine for many years.
Oh,
He
okay.
wrote "Go for it, Johnny"
Uh-huh.
under a drawing of me that made me look really young. And another one was Steve Brodner, who I got to meet, who is famous for doing the New York Observer a lot, and
Mm.
he's also still around. He's a major contributor. I looked up to him a lot,
Right.
and got to I didn't my Kober said go to his house and meet him, and
Mm-hmm.
I did that, but
Yeah.
I feel like after a while I got a little shy about asking illustrators for other things because I kind of felt inadequate with my own work.
Oh, I
So
see. Well, I mean, you're selling your work.
now I don't, but
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
saying
Back then. Okay,
back
right.
then.
See, but you have a lot of influences, though. There's Romare Bearden. There's Al Hirschfeld. I mean, Al Kober. I mean,
Yeah, I also love a lot of painters and sculptors,
Oh,
and
really?
uh, I love Renaissance art. I love
now how does that
I love
inform?
impressionists, post impressionists. I love a lot of modern artists.
Now, how does that inform your sketching, though, or does it, or you just happen to like it?
I feel like in a way I wanted originally my idea of using illustration as a major was a way to become a filmmaker.
Oh.
But I just got so lost in the art part of it that I said, forget about filmmaking.
Oh, so you had aspirations of being a filmmaker.
I wanted to be like George Lucas or Scorsese or Spielberg. I wanted to be like
Really?
those three.
Wow.
But it's like I told myself after a while, number one, Hollywood is changing rapidly,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if I could keep up with it.
Hmm.
But if I stick with art, I could do a lot of great things because I know that at least I have my life invested in it already, you
Right,
know.
right, right.
And I don't look at myself as a failed filmmaker. I look at myself as like someone who found a purpose, but it took a little trial and error, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and it's still because you're doing live performances. It's not like you are.
I also did an album cover about 2 years ago for Cyrus Chestnut.
Did you?
Yeah,
Which album?
Hands of My Father.
And what did you draw?
I did a painting of him and his dad. He did the
Wow.
album a year. It came out a year after his father had passed, and his
Oh.
father had taught him gospel piano.
Mm-hmm.
I think his name was Montgomery, and uh, I had by chance he was seeing a doctor in the building where I was a security guard,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw him many times, and I had been a fan and I had drawn him many times,
Okay.
but I learned more about his music and his process,
Mm-hmm.
and I gifted him a drawing. And one time he called me up and he said, "Listen, I'm doing a real personal project. If I give you a photo, do you think you could do something in 5 days?" So I had to take 2 days off work to do this
Yes.
painting. And he said, "I only have enough time for you to scan it and send it off."
Wow.
So I did it in about 3-4 days.
Mm-hmm.
Sent him a scan. I spent like $300 to scan it,
Mm-hmm.
and he loved it.
I'm
And
sure.
it was like one of those things that like not only was the gratitude for his music made me feel great about it,
Mm-hmm.
but his photograph of him with his dad
Yeah.
was just the perfect reference. Like
Absolutely.
it was such a great photograph, and it was so endearing. You could see the love that he had for his father and his father had for
Right.
him in the photograph. That when I saw the image and he said, "Can you do something with it?" I kind of knew that I could.
Okay.
Like it was such a great photograph. I said,
Yes.
I
And so
got.
you sketched the you took the
I did a
photograph?
painting.
You did a painting.
Yeah, watercolor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is really something. Oh, I'd like to see that. So do you I take it you own an autographed
It's on
copy?
It's on the. I have it on my phone if you want to see it.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I have the original is a kind of rectangular,
Yeah,
and he
okay.
kind of zoned in on a square.
Okay,
So,
okay.
but
Wow. So that was a commissioned piece.
I got
Right?
commissioned. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I imagine you get
I wish I could do more.
I was going to ask.
I wish I could do more.
Okay.
You know, a guy who reached out a couple of times,
Mm-hmm.
who is one of my heroes on guitar, is Pat Metheny.
Oh, sure.
He has stated that he wanted me to do an album cover a couple of times,
Uh-huh.
and I told him I would give my left leg to do one of his album
Your
covers.
left leg.
He's like, "You don't have to." I was like, "Well, I will." And I mean, I don't know how much it pays, but I mean, you know,
Just the honor of doing it.
it's just something that like I'm so enamored,
Yes.
not just by his technique, but
Okay.
his innovations.
Mm.
You know, it's like his way of creating sound
Okay.
in different ways. It's like it's just he's a cut above the others.
Uh-huh.
So I mean
Wow.
the other guitarists I idolized who I
Who's
would love to draw, but I can't get close to. And I met him at a Chick Corea concert.
who's that?
Is John McLaughlin.
Oh.
I would love to draw John McLaughlin because
Wow.
he's to me just like he's a god on guitar.
Really?
I mean, I got to draw a few gods who I love.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, who is one of my favorite improvisers, is John Schofield.
Oh, sure.
Another one I've drawn who is a lesser known, but I really love his playing, is uh, Ralph Towner.
Okay.
Another guy who I love is Ed Cherry,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like how sensitive his touch is.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And I loved Russell Malone. I miss him dearly.
Yes.
Russell, to me, was just not just a great guitar player, but just a great human being.
Mm.
And we lost him way too young.
Yeah.
I mean, like, in terms of impact
Mm-hmm.
on other people,
Right.
I think Russell was like a special individual.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy I wish I could have drawn was Alan Holdsworth. He was
Holdsworth.
a guitarist who was like kind of like very unique.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And another guy who I had an opportunity to draw, but I never drew, was Jim Hall. I wish I drew Jim Hall.
What happened? You missed him?
I missed him.
Like you were
Him and John Abercrombie and a couple others I missed.
like you were scheduled to go and had something else going on? Or?
I don't know. Just it never worked out. I kind of like early on when he was around, I kind of like didn't have money like I have now to spend on concerts.
Yes.
So I didn't know of him off the bat.
Yes.
But he's one of those guys who, like, wow, I love Jim Hall and I love Joe Pass.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to have drawn Joe Pass.
Right. So they're the ones who got away, those
Yeah.
who have passed on. I guess that you wish you could have drawn it, and you had an opportunity to.
Yeah, but you can't do everything. I mean, there are
True.
a lot of pianists that I wish I could have drawn. One I saw, but I never got to draw him.
Who's that?
It was Ahmad Jamal. He was
yes.
one of my heroes.
Of course.
Another one that I could have drawn once I had an opportunity to see him was Oscar Peterson. He had a stroke and he did one concert at Birdland.
Okay.
But it was $150, and I said, you know what? Let me just spend the $150 on his albums. So I bought a lot of his albums, and I asked his wife at the time, or who was managing him.
Okay.
And I said, listen, can I just go to the dressing room and draw him for a half hour?
Right.
And she said, he really can't sit for that long. And I said to her, thank you for just getting back to me, because I didn't expect you to really answer.
Right. Right.
But the fact that he couldn't sit, it really meant that he wasn't well. And,
I see.
And I don't know if I would have done a good drawing while he was
not feeling well
in that state.
Yeah, yeah.
Like one time I drew Freddie Hubbard, and he had cancer in his lip, and he couldn't blow his horn.
Oh.
And it was at the Iridium, and it was towards the end of his life. And I couldn't draw him. I just couldn't. And my friend looked at me, and he said, my friend Doug Pulaski, he said, how'd you like the concert? And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he said, I know what you're thinking.
Wow.
It was just so sad to
Yes.
see someone who was so vital throughout his career and played with such fervor, to see him not being able to.
That speaks to what you were saying, that you actually feel. You feel the musicians. So you must have felt
it's
something.
something that I have to be sent. There was one guy who I never drew. I drew him in a small sketch, but I never drew him. The one time I wanted to draw him was Phil Woods.
Okay. Yes.
And he was on an oxygen tank, and he was not breathing properly because he had emphysema, and I just couldn't draw him.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. I was sad.
Yes.
And I had seen him be so vital for so long, and I used to see him in the Poconos all the time, and but I never drew him, and it was like, it really bothers me.
Right, right, yeah.
There are certain people that I never got around to, like Mulgrew Miller, Cedar Walton. They're I wish I drew Kenny Kirkland while he was here.
Yeah.
There's just certain people that I never got to, that I say to myself, you know what? Bud Shank was a guy, like the bass player. I could think of like a handful of people who I could have drawn, who I had when I was in high school, when I wasn't drawing jazz.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to see Stefan Grappelli.
Oh, French violinist, right?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And my teacher said, "This is your only opportunity," and he was right. I mean, like,
And did you draw him or no?
no, but even just to see him,
I see.
like Stefan Grappelli. I mean, it's one of the greatest.
Right.
Aside, you
Right.
think of him and John Luke Ponty, and who I did draw, John Luke
Okay.
Ponty.
Wow.
But it's like I learn as time goes on that you can't take for granted. Like I also I wanted to visit Sheila Jordan for the last 2 months because it's been on my mind to visit her
Okay.
in the nursing home, and now
Right.
she's in hospice.
Oh.
So what I did was I donated as much as I could because she's really not doing well. But it's on my mind that I'll never get to talk to Sheila Jordan to tell her what a blessing she is to the world.
Yeah.
It's like I really care about not just the legacy, but what the fact that they gave their lives to music.
They seem like family to you, right?
I feel that way because it's like, having loved their music and also knowing a little about the struggles that they had been through.
Right.
That I feel like the struggles of like hearing Sheila Jordan talk about Charlie Parker and hanging out with him as a teenager has informed me about the greatest era of music.
Yes.
And like, I'm not saying that there's not a great era of music today, because there's a lot of young people that give me a lot of hope.
Yes.
Especially Samara Joy and Cecile McLaurin-Salvant.
Definitely.
And Emmett Cohen and there's a Joel Ross is I think a bright name who and a lot of people who go through the jazz gallery system under the Roy Hargrove legacy.
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of talent, and but the greats are the great.
Yes.
And I feel like life goes on, and we have to learn how to appreciate the art for what it is. But those who gave everything and didn't do it just for money and had to work hard and toil their whole lives to go on the road and live a hard life.
Right.
I feel like those are the ones that establish something so that the younger generation can have it. So that I feel like, in a way, what they establish is now in the schools, and that's what the kids are learning from.
Right.
And creating their own versions of. So
yes, right. That's right. Well, let me ask you, being surrounded with all this artwork and music, do you play an instrument?
No.
Oh, okay.
Now the funny thing is, my first jazz concert was when I was about 11 years old, and I first lived in Westchester. My grandmother and grandfather, the one who was in the Queens Village, they took me to Queens College to see Al Hurt.
Oh.
And that was the first concert I ever experienced of jazz.
Wow.
And I heard him play the trumpet so fast that I thought it was 3 trumpets playing at the same time, but it was just one.
Really?
And I was thinking, how could he do that? And there was something about his hands and his breathing that was like, it kind of mystified me. And my brother was playing the trumpet at the time. Of course, he gave that up, like a lot of things, but he was more into sports. And I remember we were listening to people like Wynton Marsalis occasionally, back in the 80s when he was first on the scene. And Branford Marsalis's brother. I still love Branford.
You've sketched him.
I've sketched I've sketched Branford.
Okay.
He's hard to draw.
Why?
Because he's so active.
Oh, you mean moving about the stage?
Just moving. Moving. His movements are hard to capture.
Oh, I see.
For me.
Interesting.
I don't know why it is, but he's hard for me to capture.
Right.
And the other thing is, he usually plays big theaters, so it's harder to draw him in context. But when I can draw him in a small club, I try and get a ticket early because I know he'll sell out faster than most.
Right, absolutely.
But I love Branford's playing, and I still love what he has done for jazz at Lincoln Center, and I heard You know, he might be stepping down as artistic director soon. But I mean, you know, still, I mean, the contributions of just written music and everything like
Right.
that, and also the inspiration for what they've accomplished is like pretty legendary.
Huh.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, you really have a really interesting story. I mean, even this whole art that you do. I'm introducing my audience to you. I'm meeting you for the first time, and
Okay.
it's really wonderful. Really, you're a very talented person.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at it as if I've been swimming in a pool with so many great artists and great musicians and great theater and great sports,
Mm-hmm.
and I just try and take the culture that inspires me and let that carry me through things.
Yes.
And if I could define myself through my work, that's just like, you know, the what I it's not what I set out to do originally,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that became like something that I wanted, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yes.
And you know, I, as far as the legacy part of like what Sasha Nicholas said to me
Mm-hmm.
about you know, like making the focus, now that I have that focus, I don't know where it's going to take me. Like, I really don't.
And that seems like it's okay though, that you
I'm
don't
fine.
know.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with that.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm much more comfortable where I'm at now because I'm okay with just going in a different direction, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay with continuing as a jazz artist, or I'm okay with, you know, trying to draw up bluegrass musicians,
Mm-hmm.
or I've been going to Tarrytown Music Hall and drawing a few old rockers,
Mm-hmm.
or like a month ago I went to see Roseanne Cash,
Oh, yeah.
and I just loved her voice. I mean, like her and her husband were playing together, and I was thinking, you know, what a gorgeous like voice she has. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
like I know her father is like legendary,
Yes.
but I feel the same way about her as I feel about my friend Ravi Coltrane. It's like that last name must be both a blessing and a curse
Mm.
because they're so good at what they do
Yes.
that it's like, you know, I feel it's unfair to.
Because some people may compare for obvious reason, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's like they're their own people and their own artists and their own musicians
Yes.
that I wish that their accomplishments would stand alone on their
Mm.
on the and not on the shoulders of who came before them.
Right,
You
right.
know, because I mean, I just look at them as such great people and such great artists
Mm-hmm.
on their own right. You
Right,
know,
right, right. Well, I think audiences recognize that too.
and I also feel the same way about even though you know, like, you know, the Marsalis family with Alice
Oh,
Marsalis
sure.
being the main, and Joshua Redmond.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's so talented, and
Yeah.
Dewey was a giant. You
Uh-huh.
know, like, but Joshua, I just love his improvising. He's just such a great. There's something very fluid about him that I love drawing because
Uh-huh.
I feel like when he plays, he's like, it's almost like dancing. You know, like trying.
Mm. Is that right?
It's kind of like movements. It's like drawing and dancing.
And I'm curious now you said that. Are you making the movements as well? I mean, is your body kind of moving
A
to
little
the
bit,
beat?
a
Yeah,
little bit,
okay, okay.
a little bit. It's kind of
Yeah.
like I'm going with it.
Yes,
You know?
right. Excellent, excellent. Well, listen, I know you're a young man now. You're 52?
Old man.
Oh, 52, right?
Yes.
So even though I consider you a young man, but I always ask all my guests this question. How would you like to be remembered?
Well, I want to be remembered as a family man who loved culture, appreciated art, and contributed in a way that uh, was part of the times that he lived in, and captured something special of the landscape, especially when it comes to jazz, I want to be remembered as somebody who lived in an important era of jazz. Like that. I was able to capture a few beboppers, some hard boppers, and people after that. Like about a year ago, I drew Lou Donaldson, and it's like having seen people who left such an indelible mark on our culture and our way of understanding what's great about art and music. It's kind of like I've just been a witness to a lot of great people and a lot of great, like, having been touched by Sonny Rollins and Wayne Shorter, and I feel like that just makes life so much richer, you know.
It does. It does. Well, Jonathan, listen, thank you so much.
And also
Yes.
lesser known people I loved singers like Sheila, like I talked about, Sheila
Yes.
Dorian and Helen Merrill, and
Oh, yeah.
I I've got to meet Jackie McLean,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a funny story.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I drew Jackie McLean with Renee at the Destination Out with Bobby Hutcherson,
Okay.
and Bobby Hutcherson was just fire.
Mm-hmm.
And Renee loved the drawing, and I gave him a copy. And then I drew him after Jackie passed with the Legacy Band
Okay.
with Renee, because he honored his father in every way.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, when I had the studio in Harlem,
Mm-hmm.
I said I would paint him. Then I lost the lease, and he comes up to me at a Randy Weston 92nd birthday concert. And he goes, "Man, you said you would paint me." He goes, "What happened to that?" And I said, "I lost the lease." And he's like, "I'm going to give you my number. If you don't call me when you get a studio, forget you." So I got a studio 6 months later. I had part of this like therapy center project that I had a studio on 14th between 6th and 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Renee, could you sit for 3 hours?" He goes, "Yeah." So he comes to, I said, "Bring your sax." He brought his sax. He didn't want to play. He just rested it. But he had an interesting African garb. And I did a painting of him.
Oh,
And it came out great.
okay.
And I was happy. And I was struggling, but I was happy because I was a little in practice. And I said, I could do this.
Well, no, wait. What's Renee's last name?
McLean.
Okay, McLean. Okay, go ahead.
And I go to Renee, and he's like, I want 2 or 3 copies. I said, "Isn't one enough?" He's like, "No, I want 2 or 3. So I deliver it to his house, and we're talking, and he's like, "Art is the most self-indulgent." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm giving you these copies." And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, I'm sure I have somewhere to put these, and we're talking, and I noticed he has all these like cages with animals,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, he had all these reptiles, and like he had a monkey,
Mm.
and I said, why do you have so many, like, in a Manhattan apartment? You have so many. He's like, when I grew up in South Africa, we grew up around animals everywhere, and
Okay.
having them in our apartments, in our houses, and
Uh-huh.
wherever. I was like, wow, I can't imagine having them in cages and, whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, well, I'll have the birds, I'll take them for walks. And, he's just a nature guy.
Yes, yes.
But it was like interesting to find that out.
Right, because you didn't know that before.
No.
Right.
No. But I'm like, you look around, you hear bird noises, you hear,
You see a monkey?
cages rattling.
Right. Guy's got a whole zoo.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Jonathan, this has been a real treat for me.
Thank you.
And just getting to know you and the work that you do, it is so important. It is really important, and you are a fixture in the jazz industry. The
Well,
jazz.
I'm very blessed to have a lot of friends who are jazz musicians.
Yes.
And I'm very blessed to not piss off most people like I did Lee Konitz.
Yeah.
But you know what? Even Lee, the thing that I think about Lee is that, and I think Lester Young was the same way,
Mm-hmm.
there's such honesty in what he did.
Okay.
and the way he played, the way he lived his life, that even if he was angry at something, him letting me know was like a better understanding of where he's coming from than him hiding it and not saying anything.
Right.
And I feel like most jazz musicians have a certain amount of that. It's like if they're not happy with something, they're gonna let you know.
Okay.
If they are happy, they will let you know.
Got it.
But I think as a human, I think the people who don't tell you what's on their mind are the ones you got to watch out for.
That makes sense, because you never know what they're thinking or harboring.
Right.
And honesty, it does pay off, because now you know how to relate and engage.
I feel like in a way, having a conversation like we're having feels easy, because I have been around the music so long that it's almost like engaging in that way feels more comfortable than talking about crocheting.
Yeah. Excellent point. I'd be stumped talking about crocheting. Well, listen, I want to thank you. I want to thank the audience for joining us this evening, getting to know Jonathan Glass. Listen, check him out. Go to his website. Support him. He's really important to the jazz community. So in addition to liking and subscribing to this channel, let's support Jonathan Glass. Have a good night. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.